What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/AmITheA butthole. And today, we're jumping straight in to some stories. Let's get started. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister with cancer that bad things happen to bad people? Ooh. Me, 27 male, and my sister Ava, 31, have never gotten along for a number of reasons. 1. I was adopted at age 8, and she still only addresses our parents as her parents, and she calls me a family friend, not a brother when introducing me to people. 2. I was overweight for most of my childhood, and she used to bully me over it a lot. 3. I have a stereotypically girl name. I was named after my birth mum. For the sake of this post, think Kelly or Anna, something boring and basic but unmistakably girly, and she continues to this day to bully me over it. 4. She outed me as gay to our entire high school in the school paper. 5. She says I ruined her life because I encourage her parents to foster our other 2 siblings. 6. She once locked me out of our house for 3 days while my parents were out of town. I was 13 and had to stay at the neighbour's house because she wouldn't open the door even when my parents called and told her to. There are many more examples for her being awful, but these ones came to mind first. Last week, Ava called me, my siblings and my parents and asked us to come over for lunch. Me and my siblings had to stop and pick up food on our way over to her house. She won't cook for us, only for our parents, so we drove together. When we got there, our parents were already there in the kitchen crying. I asked what happened and Ava told us that she had cancer and she wanted our support. I said I'm sorry about that, because I really didn't know what else to say. Ava and my parents got upset and we all basically got into a screaming match. I told her that she really shouldn't be surprised that karma finally found her. Ava asked what I meant and I told her that bad things happen to bad people. She started sobbing and I walked right out the front door. My parents have been calling me to say that I was an arsehole and my siblings are mad that I drove away without them, but they agreed that Ava is awful. I'm starting to feel kind of bad because I know how horrible cancer is and I know that no one deserves to go through that. Am I the arsehole? You know, I came into this one thinking, oh, with that title, this is going to be a definite you're the arsehole post. It's got to be, right? But, you know, I was sort of swaying as I was going through it. Implying cancer happens to bad people and it's a karma thing is absolutely an arsehole move, 100% to say that sort of thing. But his wording in the story was bad things happen to bad people. He didn't specifically say, you know, you got cancer because you're a bad person. I think he just means in general karma terms, you know, bad things happen to bad people. It could have been anything that happened to her, not just cancer. So I don't think he was implying specifically cancer only happens to bad people. So I'm not going to get on his case about that one too much. But I definitely do empathize with OP for everything they went through, the list that they went through when they were shut out at 13 and made to go stay with someone else. This person doesn't cook for them, doesn't consider them family, and just treated them like shit their whole life. Outed them to the entire school in the school paper. Bullying, toxic behavior. So I definitely do empathize with OP, and Ava doesn't consider OP family, so why should OP return any sort of benefit now, you know? So I'm not going to latch too much onto the term, the actual cancer happens to bad people thing. I'm just going to call it as in karma in itself. Bad things happen to bad people, and I think OP was totally in the right to say it if they wanted to. The way they've been treated their whole entire lives, been pushed out of the family, been treated absolutely horribly by this person, and then this person has the cheek to ask OP to come round and try to support them, and when he just turns around and says I'm sorry about that, they all get up in his face and go crazy at him about it. So I do not blame OP for this at all. Sure, there's always a better way to put your words or act in certain situations, but I don't think this was a particularly bad way for considering everything OP has gone through. As horrible as this might sound, having cancer doesn't just wipe away the past and all your past wrongdoings. It doesn't even sound like they're being nice to OP still to this day. So I just got to say not the arsehole in this situation. It may be a controversial one, I know, but I'm going with it. But so Valkyrie Mama says, everyone sucks here. Your sister sucks for the horrible way she has treated you for years. Your parents suck for not stopping her behaviour. And you suck for thinking that cancer is a punishment that bad people get. I lost a very good friend to cancer almost 2 years ago. She was a lovely woman and did nothing to deserve cancer. I imagine most people who have cancer have not done anything that would warrant that horrible disease. And Judge Jed says everyone sucks, So her for obvious reasons, but you for implying that cancer hits only bad people, and also bad things happen to everyone, not just bad people. And CEM officially says, to everyone saying everyone sucks here or you're the arsehole. Everyone's argument seems to be that he said people with cancer are bad people. He didn't say that. He said bad things happen to bad people, not specifically cancer. He was talking about Karma in general. She has tormented him and the rest of their siblings all their life. They could have become suicidal from all the bullying. Their lives were hard and then she expects support. What for? Why should he or any of the siblings support her in any way? Rubbing karma in her face wasn't ideal, but he is a fucking human being. He has been tormented all his life by her. Give him a fucking break. He didn't owe her anything and still doesn't. All of you have never been bullied clearly or know the effects of it. Cancer didn't change her. She did not magically become a nice person, but expects to invite the victims she's been bullying. Not only her, but all of you are assholes, demanding to support her or to be considerate. Fuck that. Not the arsehole. And Poitler says, yeah, everyone sucks here. I sympathise with you greatly. She sounds awful, but it's the kind of thing you get to keep to yourself at that time, and go no contact with her instead. And Blade freaking Blah says, everyone sucks here. You should avoid each other if neither of you can be civil. And Feisty Carrot says, not the arsehole, may have gone without saying, but I understand why you said it. And Thick Lover says, not the arsehole, she bullied and abused you for 19 years. What you said is a small token of what your parents made you endure. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? And who do you think is the arsehole in it? Do you think it's an everyone sucks here? Do you think it's a not the arsehole? Or do you think OP is the arsehole for what they said? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Dale22. Am I the arsehole for not letting my daughter, 14, come to her aunt's wedding because she wanted to wear white? My male 43 sister's wedding was last week. She sent me and my wife an invitation and said that the wedding allowed kids, so everyone was bringing their kids to the event. Once I heard the kids were allowed, I let my wife know and she decided to go dress shopping with our daughter, 14 years old. Our daughter is quite picky when it comes to clothes, so it took them several visits to the mall to find what our daughter was looking for. The day of the wedding, my daughter came wearing her dress and showing it off. She wanted to take a minute and look at. I turned around and saw it was a white gown that looked like a wedding dress. I don't know what I felt, but it wasn't right. I asked my wife why she let our daughter buy a white dress knowing that it's inappropriate and unwanted at any wedding. She said it was no big deal and it can't possibly be a distraction because that's ridiculous. I was mad, kept thinking what mother and sister are going to say when they see it. I told my daughter she needed to go change or she isn't allowed to come wearing this dress. She had a meltdown asking why. I told her it's her choice after she refused and didn't allow her to come with us to the wedding. My wife screamed at me after my daughter went upstairs, calling me an arsehole for not letting her attend over a dress. Called me crazy to think my daughter would steal the attention and I ended up going alone. My family knew. Some agreed with me while my sister blew up saying she wanted their niece there and I screwed up big time because it didn't matter if she wore white. She is a kid. My wife and daughter haven't been talking to me ever since and no one seems to understand how I could have taken the blame if my daughter showed up in white. I think this is one of those situations where you was damned if you do, damned if you don't. Basically because if you turned up at the wedding and the sister didn't like it, well, you're in trouble for that. Now you're in trouble with everyone else because you refused. You didn't know how they was going to react anyway, so I can't really blame this on you. The only thing I could say this was, obviously your wife is an arsehole in the situation for what she did and not seeing what could have taken place if she did wear white to the wedding and the sister didn't agree to it. Absolutely the arsehole. Your daughter's the arsehole for just being awkward in this case. But in some ways, I also want to say and everyone sucks here just because, why don't you just contact your sister and say, is it okay if she turns up in white? A little quick phone call or something like that, a quick text message. It just really wasn't that difficult, and it didn't need to be blown up like this. And it could have solved a lot of drama. I will go with a not the arsehole because I think you was just put in a very awkward situation. You was trying to deal with any unnecessary drama coming up at the wedding. You didn't know that your sister was going to react that way. And I think you was just trying to do the best in that scenario. So I'm going to say not the arsehole on this one. But Lurkin Entropy says, this one hurts to read. You were damned no matter what you did. Blamed if she wore white and blamed for her not attending. I'm going with a not the arsehole because you're on the side of caution and could have called others to see if they'd be okay. That's just about the only way you could have made it through this thing without taking shots from someone. And Boogie says, not the arsehole, you did the right thing. Your wife sounds childish and rude. She should have your back no matter what. She took your daughter shopping. She should have been the adult and told your daughter no white dresses allowed. And Peo says, not the arsehole, what your daughter wanted to do was incredibly inappropriate. You're absolutely right that you would have taken the blame if your sister would have taken offense. Turned out that she didn't, but you had no way of knowing that. Your wife also showed extremely poor judgment in buying the dress. You told your daughter that she couldn't go in that dress, and she had a hissy fit and then ended up missing the wedding. She's 14, she is old enough to bear consequences of her own actions, especially if they are self-imposed. And Honest Cranberry says she is 14 and should know better. She is not a little kid anymore, running around in a white dress, and if your sister said it didn't matter, why did your wife not say that? Because she did not know, and it could have gone the other way just as easily. Only way I would have allowed it would have been if she could prove that they had the okay from your sister for the dress in writing. Quick pic to her and an okay would have been enough. Not the arsehole. I'm not quite sure. I saw a couple of comments in there that saying that, she's 14, she should know better about the whole white wedding dresses thing. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think I only learned about a year or so ago. I'm an idiot, I know. But now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story does follow with an update, and it's from Big No 1547 said, am I the arsehole for refusing to tell my dad that I am buying a house until after I have moved in? To start this off, I, now 31 female, moved out of my dad's home when I was 14. He had anger issues, and me moving out and refusing to come back was his rock bottom, and he got the help he needed. I was lucky and a family member took me in, and I slowly let him back in my life. Back 12 years or so, I was fresh out of high school but had an awesome paying job and inheritance from my grandparents. I decided I wanted to buy a house near the local college so I could get a degree and get an even better job. The house I found was 4 beds and 3 baths and listed for under 100k and had just been updated. It was after the 2008 bubble burst, so the deal was really good. I went through the pre-approval process and put in an offer. Before I heard back, I showed my dad the house. I already lived alone, having moved out of the family member's house, but wanted to share my happiness and thought he would be happy for me. I was horribly wrong. He berated me for over an hour, the highlights being, I was dumb to think I could handle owning a house at 19. I didn't know how to own a house because I was too young. I didn't need such a big place because it was only me. Roommates would destroy the place. Maintenance would just cost too much. I would eventually end up with a foreclosure on my record. So even though my offer was accepted, I walked away and regretted it deeply for years. I used to periodically check and see how much the house was worth, but stopped in 2016 because I decided I was obsessing and it was unhealthy, but the house was worth over 400k. I thought I had to let go of the negative feelings, but it seemed house hunting has brought them back up. I can't help thinking how much easier buying our new home would be if I had that house to sell for a down payment. My husband knows the story and supports me not telling my dad and even agrees. Then I was walking to one of my aunts and told her about the house we now have under contract. I also asked her not to tell my dad. When she asked why, I explained and she told me, well, if your father didn't burn all his bridges and would act like the adult he thinks he is, he wouldn't be left out of this kind of thing. Turns out they're not talking right now because he demanded money from her. She offered to pay him to do some basic chores since he doesn't have a job right now, but he claimed he was too busy and just wanted money. I have also heard his side since he's called me to complain about her. He, however, left out the part where she offered to pay him to help her. While I agree he's acting like an entitled arsehole, I'm wondering if my aunt is agreeing with me because she's mad at him for the way he treated her. She definitely has every right to be mad, especially considering he sent some really nasty texts. But I also know the fallout from him not finding out about the house until after we moved in will be unpleasant, to say the least. So I am now questioning if I might be acting like the arsehole. And as I said, we do have an update to this post as well, so we're going to move straight to the comments, get a couple of comments, then move on to the update. So Lumpy Space Stay says, not the arsehole. Sounds like your dad never really got out of rock bottom in the first place. Just curious, if you're so fearful that at 31 years old, your father would berate you for buying a house, why are you still in contact with him? And OP says, I tried to keep things to a shallow conversation with him and lived nearly a day's drive away, so I didn't have to see him very often. I think maybe I'm just not ready to cut him out completely. There is a small part of me that just wants my dad to love and respect me, but I'm coming to terms with the fact he probably never will. And Monday Night says, not the arsehole, you aren't asking him for a dime. He talked you out of an incredible investment. He sounds like he hasn't recovered from his anger issues very much. And So Many Whippet says, how many of your rainbows are you going to give him in the chance to piss on? Not the arsehole. Now we're going to move straight to the update. So we closed on the house late last week and moved in over the weekend. I did not tell him what we were doing until after closing papers were signed and we had keys in hand. Telling my dad went better than I thought it would, but I also didn't word it in a way that would come off as me asking his opinion. I called all my other family first before calling him. I was planning to just text him, but instead I called and told him I was sending a text. The text I sent was a link to the house listing. Yes, this means he knows our address, but that at this moment was unavoidable. He asked me when we would be closing and mentioned that he didn't like the location. Before he could say more, I told him we had just finished signing all the papers and were taking our first carload of boxes over. That shut down the conversation, and while he said he was happy for us, I could tell he was unhappy I either didn't tell him sooner or didn't get his thoughts on the house first. He hung up pretty quickly after that. I'm happy with how I went about it, even if my dad isn't. I know he was going to pick my home apart if I just let him, especially since he had already said he didn't like the area. He's been mostly silent on the house news, but will text or call about anything else. My husband thinks that the way he's been shut down is hilarious. He did the same with his mum, who thinks her grown children should ask her permission to do anything in life as well. Everyone in our home is happy, and those who aren't don't get a say in it because they don't live there. We have also made strategic use of all the rooms so we don't have guest room of any kind. I also now have a yarn closet instead of yarn boxes shoved in a corner. Adding, thank you to everyone that has responded. I'm trying to get back to everyone, but I'm also at work, and while it's a slow day, I do have things I need to finish. If you don't get a response from me, please know it's not because I didn't read it or appreciate what you wrote. And it just sounds like the situation was handled perfectly, closed down dad down pretty quickly, and you haven't got a guest room for him to stay in. And it's a pretty wholesome ending, which I do love on an Am I the Arsehole post. But what do you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Interesting Lemon. Am I the arsehole for locking our bedroom door at midnight? One night I needed to sleep well due to my roommate's consistently out of order behaviour. I have a roommate, Julia, who is dating a guy and they hate sleeping apart. They are both in shared rooms in the dorms with single beds. The first night he stayed over, they both came into our room and both stayed in her bed, which made me super uncomfortable. I told her this and he never slept in there again, but they instead started moving the mattress into our shared living space to sleep instead. They always move the mattress after I've gone to bed and she needs his help, which means every single night a guy I'm uncomfortable with is in my room with me in bed in my pajamas, etc. And I usually can never get to sleep properly until they've come in to get the mattress. It sucks. I've asked her to stop, but she says no, what's the big deal? They don't sleep in the same room as me, and he doesn't care about me or see me under the covers when he comes in anyway. I've complained to our RA, who I think will do something eventually, but apparently they are just really busy at the moment. One night, after a month of this happening, I had a really important test the next day, but also had enough of their behaviour. They hadn't returned home to our room by midnight, so I locked the door. She can always stay in his apartment, in theory, and needs to understand how strongly I feel about what they keep on doing. When they eventually came back at 1 AM, they banged on the door so hard until I had to let them in. She said that obviously she can't stay at his as it's inappropriate for a girl to sleep in an all-guys apartment, and also she had medication in the room she needed to take before bed. I didn't know this. We now aren't speaking and our other roommates all got woken up by the whole scene and are pissed at the action I took. They hate the scenario too, as he's in our living space every morning, but I shouldn't have done that particular thing to make a point, and now Julia has ammunition to not change her behaviour. Am I the arsehole? Edit, I double locked our bedroom door from the inside. Her toiletries are in the bathroom area, which she could still access, and I had assumed that if she had any medication it would be kept there. Although I admit I didn't know she took anything daily, and obviously it turned out she kept it in the bedroom, which is my bad completely. In terms of them keeping the mattress in the living space, no one wants this. Most importantly, it would suggest that I and the other girls are happy with that solution, which we are not. We don't want a guy that sleeps in the adjoining living space while we eat our breakfast. Also, Julia seems to think that the other girls in our dorm are oblivious to what they do, and by returning the mattress to our room, they don't notice. She's deluded. Now I can see some people possibly going down that everyone sucks here route just because of the whole medication issue. I'm going to go with a not the arsehole in this situation. I'm being very controversial in this one for some reason, but simply because that behavior is not on at all. Of course you're going to feel absolutely awkward with some random wandering around in the middle of the night when you're trying to get to sleep. Like you say, you're under the covers and you're trying to sleep away. I'd feel exactly the same. Man, woman, wandering around, someone that I don't know, wandering around a room where I'm trying to sleep. Yeah, I'd feel absolutely awkward as well, and it's just totally not on. So I'm going to go with not the arsehole in this one. But Madison Green says, not the arsehole. Go to the RA immediately and tell them if they do not take care of a guy sleeping in your space every night when you have said you don't want to, then you'll look into hiring a lawyer to feel safe in your own living space. See if that scares them into action. Also keep going up the chain. A massive music sucker says, not the arsehole. I mean, it's inappropriate for a girl to sleep in a room with guys, but not for a guy to sleep in one full of girls. She is sharing a space with you, so she should be respectful of what you need. They are being arseholes. And Pix85 says, not the arsehole, your other roommates are enabling her. They should back you up by insisting they don't sleep in the shared space. Your roommate doesn't understand that not being able to sleep next to her boyfriend isn't the hardship she believes it to be. If she wants to sleep with her boyfriend, she needs to find a new living solution, not just force you and everyone else to deal with it. And Ashes says, not the arsehole, go to your RA again. Insist you don't feel safe and demand action today. If that doesn't work, tell them you're going to head to the head of student housing. Keep going up till you get it resolved. And EA says, skip your RA and report it to the person in charge of the dorm. It's a violation, and in my dorm, we aren't allowed to have people sleeping over. We did it all the time, but we could have been evicted at any time because of it, especially if your roommates had a problem with it. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? What would you do in it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're really enjoying the content and you want to join and support the channel further, you absolutely can. But never any pressure to do so, of course. But you can click that join button down below for YouTube, or click the link in the description for Patreon and join up there. It is very, very helpful and super appreciated. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Finally don't get no fuss, finally be riding on my way. Finally woke up with some luck in the book. I don't give a what someone say. Finally got my friends in the back on my roller. We gon' make it big one day. We gon' make it big, I say. We gon' make it big, just stay.